And my bucket of money ran out. I don't care if it's a few $1 million. In Charleston, that's about 6 loans.
Yep.
You know, so I ran out of money, but I knew I had something. The phone was still ringing, the emails were still coming in, but Kelli had ran out of money in my bucket. So, like anything else, you have something when your social media is blowing up, or your phone's blowing up, or your email's blowing up with, hey, I want your service. So I was just, my eyes wide open to that. So I ended up going and locking arms with some people that had raised capital.
Hey everyone, here. Welcome back to the Compound Mindset. Today I'm going to be chatting with Kelli Garrett. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it.
Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Let's start out quickly, like we do on all these podcasts, with a wisdom moment. I think one of the things I know Kelli has taught me is make sure you buy for cash flow, not appreciation. And make sure you keep reserves on you. I think that's an important part. We talk about these market changing and things shifting, and people worry about the values of the rental properties, but if you're buying for cash flow, it's, you could wait. You just ride through these bad times, and when something picks back up, although I can't even say it's bad times right now, values are still improving right now. Things are multiple offer situation if it's in the right area, priced right. So, but yeah, just buy for cash flow. I think that's one of the most important pieces of advice that was given to me in my investment journey. So,
yeah, good.
I like to talk, today we're gonna dive in with Kelli and just talk about compounding wealth. Kelli is, I'm going to use these words, pretty much a genius when it comes to compounding wealth. Sorry, I'm going to put those words out there because she just really understands it. And we're going to dive deep into it, and you'll see what I mean by that. But you and Danny Randazzo, I always attribute to the compound mindset. You guys are a big part of the reason why I thought of it and why I created this podcast and this Facebook page and group for everybody, is because I remember, late 2018, early 2019, when we met at the breakfast meeting, you guys would just levels above me talking about compounding wealth, and just the way you guys would talk about it was just absolutely amazing. And I didn't really understand it, I guess, at the time, but now it really makes a difference, and we'll dive deeper into even our relationships of how we're able to compound wealth together. So
Absolutely.
I'm really excited to have this podcast because I just think it's exciting, and I think everybody out there wants to figure out how to build wealth and compound it. So hopefully this will be very informative for everybody. But let's start off with a little bit of telling us a little bit about who Kelli Garrett is.
Wow. Well, first and foremost, that's some big shoes to fill. But I think, I'm Kelli Garrett. I'm originally from Easley, South Carolina. Came to Charleston a while back, over 30-something years ago, just to come here to play ball. I got a scholarship to play basketball at the College of Charleston. Basketball was my life for a long, long, long time. Taught me a lot, and I kind of contribute some of my success to sports and athletics and the drive and so forth. But so came here then, and after I graduated, I started working like most people do. They go into corporate America of some sort, and I chose hard work because that's just where I came from. We'll talk about that in a second. But grew up on a small farm, so I wanted to, after I left college, I went to kind of the blue collar side of the career day, and chose UPS and started work the day after I graduated. And so ran the corporate ladder with them for about 12 years and left in 2000. And just thought to myself, gosh, if I put this much time and energy into somebody else's company, I could do it with mine. My dad was an entrepreneur and never worked for anyone, and so I kind of came up thinking that way. So,
how old were you at the time that you made that decision? If you don't mind me asking, I know women are not supposed to talk about age, but I think this is important.
It's fine.
When did you make that decision?
23 from, 32?
Okay.
So I was 32 years old.
That's awesome to have that epiphany then, yeah.
Making a decision that, I'm the type of person that stays at something for a long period of time, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a job. And so me leaving something was very different right? My parents have been together or were together. My dad passed, but for 50 years. So I come from a very structured home, and kind of just stay at it. And so for me, leaving something that was paying me well over six figures, multiple stock options, it was a big decision. But I know when I'm ready to leave, and when I was ready, I kind of, just like what you're talking about a lot about compounding your mindset. Something switched inside of me, and I was ready to go do it for myself.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of people listening to this could be in that same situation. They're making over six figures, they're comfortable, they might have a family, they have expenses, and it's really nerve-wracking to take that jump. But you figured that out at 32 years old.
Yeah.
I just think that's amazing. It's yesterday I was listening to, side note here, Matthew McConaughey put on this event, The Art of Living, and I signed up for it just to be like, let's take a look, see what it's about and everything. And it's really cool. It was just, a lot of it was about just reevaluating your life, like where you're at, what's your issues, what are your problems, be honest with yourself, be vulnerable.
Exactly.
What's the problem? And a lot of people on there they just weren't happy. They were whatever it was, they just weren't happy in life, a lot of these people posting. And I really hope, I give credit to Matthew McConaughey putting that together. Hopefully it really changed a lot of people's mindsets, and maybe they'll make switches like this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your dollar amount is. I'm not saying you were unhappy necessarily, but you weren't reaching your full potential.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And it's probably how my dad raised us all. Very self-driven, because he gave us a lot of autonomy. I mean, you raised on a small farm, everybody works. I don't care if you're a little girl or a little boy, it doesn't matter. He had help or hands, right? And so he worked us a lot, and so I knew how to do a lot. And the work ethic, I'm not a scared type of person. Fear doesn't really obsess me at all. And so I think when I got there, even though I was in my 30s, I still wanted their approval. And so I think once I got that, I was ready just to go it on my own. And just not have any fear and just go at it. What worse? I always say, what worse could I do? Could I go back to a small town? Do I go back living in a trailer? Do I go back living on a farm? Do I go back there? And how bad was that? It was great. It's a great upbringing. But so I think that just kind of takes all my risk off my chest and just allows me to just go for it. But I don't think it was one person. I think it was just my upbringing just gave us a ton of confidence as little girls and boys growing up with my family, my cousins.
I love that. What I heard from that is just, the confidence and no fear, because I forget who was saying this, but there's three major fears of people making these decisions. It's the fear of failure, the failure of success, and the failure of basically other people's opinions. I forget the exact verbiage of that. And it's a real thing. Like, to have one of those fears really stop you from going for it.
Yeah.
To me, it was probably fear of success, if I had to say what it was. I didn't know really, I don't know if it was failure or success. That's a hard one to kind of balance. But the fact that you had no fear and you had the family and upbringing to support you, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. All right, let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about, obviously, anybody watching this, I'm assuming you know what Rehab Wallet is, and Kelli is a founding partner there and a big part of Rehab Wallet. So tell me a little bit about why you created Rehab Wallet, maybe your original goals to where you're at now.
Yeah, originally where Rehab Wallet sits, just like anybody's journey in entrepreneurship, right? It starts out here and it ends up here. And I believe in faith. I believe in just letting everything work out as it should be. And so the way the Rehab Wallet came about was that I was a real estate investor for multiple years. We flipped for 18 years. At the same time, I'm owning my own mortgage company from 2000, the day that I left UPS, I went straight and opened up my own mortgage company. So from 2000 to 2010 is when I had a mortgage brokerage. And during that time, we had 3 locations, but during that time is when I learned about the education of funding your own deals or funding deals in general. So it kind of took that, if there were fear of how to buy something. Everybody says, well, how can I buy a $14 million project? But when you understand how to get it funded, then, or a $4 million or a $400,000 project. Once you learn the funding, education, it even throws that fear away, right? So through my mortgage business, I gained more education on how to fund things. So before I knew it, I think we had like 313 single family, small multifamily, and mobile home park. And we kept those for 15, 16 years. And so now cut to 2018, I sold those, sold everything off, right? We had been through the crash of 2008, 9, and 10. Values plummeted. So by the time 18 comes around, those values had come back up and exceeded where they were in 2006. So 2006 was here. 8, 9, and 10 took a dip in value. 2018, they had surpassed 2006. I said to our team, I'm like, it's time to sell off some stuff. We'd already been through one. I didn't know when the next drip was going to be. And so I thought, let's just go sell off some stuff. So I started selling some stuff off and grabbed 2 buckets of money, right? One bucket I used to private lend, and the other bucket we can talk about later, but I ended up doing some more passive investing instead of doing self-managing and more active, okay? So I took my bucket and started doing some private lending, and my bucket of money ran out. I don't care if it's a few $1 million. In Charleston, that's about 6 loans.
Yep.
You know, so I ran out of money, but I knew I had something. The phone was still ringing, the emails were still coming in, but Kelly had ran out of money in my bucket. So, like anything else, you know, you have something when your social media is blowing up, or your phone's blowing up, or your email's blowing up with, hey, you know, I want your service. So I was just, my eyes wide open to that. So I ended up going and locking arms with some people that had raised capital. And you mentioned Danny's name, and I'll mention his as well. Danny Randazzo and his partner Dan own a company called PassiveInvesting.com. And so I had been investing passively with them, knew about them, had spent a lot of time getting to know them, so I knew it could be a good partnership.
Yep.
I looked for somebody that could do something that I couldn't do. I knew that I could lend the money out. I could build a team. Those 2 things I'm really good at, right? I'm not as good over here on raising tens of millions of dollars. Never have done it before, so I need to lock arms with that person. So all of a sudden come out, that's how Rehab Wallet was formed. It was formed of a need, and then I locked arms with the right people to do it.
Yep. Like you said, raise tens of millions of dollars. Come on, how many millions of dollars in loans you do last year?
Our goal was 100 million, and we did right at 98 million.
That's amazing. And what about this year? Goal is
125 million.
I mean, that's unreal.
Yeah,
125 million in loans in 3 years.
3 years.
And I know if that's your goal, I know how Kelly works.
If I write it down,
that goal is going to be achieved. Yes. Yeah. That's amazing. I think a lot of people that did well over the last few years. I know a lot of people getting into small private money lending here and there because they also want to compound their money and get it. There's a risk to it though. There's a lot that we've learned over time. Together we've talked about loan products, and you've helped guide me on notes and mortgages, and you do a certain type of loan, and all of a sudden you learn 2 or 3 things, like the market starts to shift. Should you adjust not only like maybe rates, but also terms and risk level, and maybe you used to loan on 75% LTV, or you at 70, 75? Yeah, you're at 70%. So there's different things that you're, just like any market, if you're investing in real estate, you're going to adjust a little bit when you're doing private money lending.
That's right.
But the one thing I really want to dive into this is you have Rehab Wallet. It served a need, but it also helps serve the goals and the needs of your investors.
That's right.
And that is the compounding of wealth. You want to talk a little bit about PIC Fund and how that back end of this works, and how it helps not only yourself and partners, but your investors make money. Yeah.
So the PIC Fund it stands for Passive Investing Club Fund. Okay. So we raise money in a debt fund, and we pay our investors now 8% if you have 100K or more in our fund. Our minimum investment is $25,000. If you invest anywhere from 25 to 100K, then we will pay you 6%. We'll pay you those distributions monthly. So the more you put in the fund, the more interest you can make. So that is a debt fund, and we use our debt fund to go and lend out. Well, we go out and lend at 13%. So the difference between 8% and 13% would be the delta, would be our business plan, right? Yeah. And so, it's imperative that we having our own money keeps us at Rehab Wallet very nimble. when you're using institutional funds or another bank's large line of credit, we have to do what they want us to do. And we want to be able to lend as an asset-based lender. I feel strongly about this, that credit doesn't always tell me everything about that person, whether they've had a death in their family, whether they have had a situation with health and it just took their credit down from 700 to 640. All of a sudden, you're all of a sudden not eligible for a loan, or 620 or 580, you know. To me, I've had a hard time dealing with that. And so we're able to be nimble and apply our own programs and our own terms and our own stipulations because we're raising our own funds. Now, we're very good stewards of our investors' money, don't get me wrong. We're conservative, we're putting good deals on the street with the right borrowers.
Yep.
So, but it starts with our debt fund first. And then I take that same $100,000 that a person might invest, I can take and lend that out twice in a year because our typical investor is in and out in 6 months.
Yep.
We do this short-term bridge debt.
And I think you made a good point right there. I'll tell you just a quick story about myself. I think it was 2004. I got in a bad motorcycle accident, and I'm in the hospital for a month. All I remember is when I got out of the hospital, I get home, there was a $500 bill that wasn't paid within like 45 days. Mind you, I was in the hospital for a while, and it dinged my credit, brought it from an 800 down to like the 620 range. One medical bill that I paid off the next day once I mean, it's just crazy how, like, I understand credit to a certain degree. I mean, I'm no Chris Lamb, but I do understand credit to a certain level, but it's things like that it just blows my mind. It's like one little mistake, like you said, can drive that credit down, yet it's a really good borrower on your hands. And I also want to touch upon something else. You talk about this all the time, the rule of 72.
Yeah.
I think this is really cool for those people listening right here. Their PIC fund went from 6%, which if you compound that money, you double your money every 12 years. Do that right? To 8%, and if you compound that in their fund, you double your money every 9 years. You just doubled your money 3 years quicker by that 2% increase they just did. And that's truly passive money. I've had money in, PIC fund for some time, and it was just nice getting, I can't remember if I got a check or compounded, but bottom line, it was nice. So it's a pretty cool, easy way for people out there to, hey, you're not really sure. You definitely don't want to put your money in, a CD and make 3%. Geez, the rule of 72, what's that take, about 20 something years?
Yeah, exactly.
23 years to double your money at that? Or you could put it in your fund, which is very sad. I mean, you have first lien positions on
we do.
Most or all or, of these products. So you have a tangible asset that's helping protect these investors.
It's collateralized. Yeah. We probably today have close to 300 loans on the street. And so the money is collateralized over all 300. So it doesn't matter if you have $100,000 in, it doesn't go in Sally's, the borrower Sally at 123 Main Street. And what happens if something happens to Sally, right? So we don't do it that way. We collateralize it over all the promissory notes and all the mortgages and the loans. So it definitely takes your risk down considerably.
That's awesome. And I just think it's so important for people to listen that 2% doubles your money in 9 years instead of 12.
Yeah.
I mean, that is absolutely amazing. You throw $100,000 in there, 9 years you're at $200,000, 18 years you're at $400,000.
Yeah.
It's the power of compounding of where I really want to
When you study compound interest, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're jumping into it because that's the magic. That's the magic wand.
Yeah, it really is. And like I said, it's you and Danny that really taught me that. And it's just an amazing tool. And I don't utilize it anywhere near as well as I need to. And I'm, because I'm still learning. You just learn along the way and be like, all right, well, I can do this and I can do better with my money. And I kind of want to hop into compounding money a little bit. When did you start understanding, focusing, really making it a part of your goal sheet on compounding interest?
I think early on, just like now it's my time, right, in life to share and to help. Because somebody helped me years ago. So when there was a financial planner in our small town, and he pretty much had our entire churches and families' monies, if you will, capital, because everybody trusted him. So my parents trusted him, and I remember sitting up there with him, and he's the one that shared the rule of 72 with me.
Okay.
When I'm like 6, he was sharing it with my parents, and I'm just like in awe of this multiplication or division of math. And so I'm like 16 years old. It's early 80s, if not late 70s, and I'm just like in awe of this. And so I know that's where I learned it. But when I was able to apply it was later on, I believe, when we're able to again, I told you about the buckets of money. When you're able to start with a bucket full of money or enough money that's going to make sense, and you figure out, hey, I have this sandbox of money, whether it's 50 grand or 5 million, it's irrelevant, is that if you apply it and find a vehicle for it to go in that's big enough that can change your life, that's when the momentum and the compounding starts happening. So instead of us looking for something that's going to go and, conservatively go put in a CD and bear us 2%. Today's rates are, I saw something yesterday that was like a 10-month CD was 4 7/8, okay?
Wow. Yeah.
So you put it in there, okay, that's a conservative play, it's held up for 10 months. But why does our society and our brains think that way? It's because somebody in our lives has told us that that's what we should do. Go to the bank and let the bank dictate what we do, right? I want us to be confident in ourselves, in yourself and myself, and that we're confident in ourselves to let us be our own self-directed people. And whether it's a self-directed IRA, we can get that later, but I'm just directing my own money. And I'm trying to find asset classes that, let's go back to the rule of 72, that maybe will bear 36%, that will double my money every 2 years. 36 divided by 72 is 2. What happens if we find asset classes, vehicles that will that bear us 72% annually? Well, then now your money's going to double every 1 year. So those are what happens is we're ingrained to be conservative, to let somebody else take our money and do that. But there are avenues and asset classes out there that will bear those for us. We just got to go get the knowledge and go get them and be confident in ourselves and be confident in our knowledge that that's the route I'm going to go. Is it a little risky? Maybe so. Is a 72% annum riskier deal than a CD at 4 7/8? Absolutely. But I even think if you can hit a few of those, you can miss one in the middle here and still make out better. And then again, we can get into that compound mindset of fear and getting rid of fear, because it's okay if you miss a few shots. It's okay if you miss a few deals, as long as we're out there trying for deals that are going to change our life. Why are we so scared about another 0 or 2? What is those zeros? Why does that get in our mind? I don't know where that comes from psychologically. It's probably all of our blue collar backgrounds. No. Everybody in this room here are all raised in a blue collar background. We probably got it from our birth. But we got to fix that with Naya. We got to fix that with children, that it's okay to go for it and strive for it, because that's where the compounding feature. And then we're not dependent on anybody else. I'm not dependent on any bank. I'm not dependent on anybody to do the work for me. I can go do it.
Yeah. No, I think that's amazing, and you're absolutely right. Like the blue collar, coming from blue collar, middle class families. My parents, great parents, good people, but I've worked since 16 years old, just like you, probably younger, 16, whatever the case is, as soon as I could work and earn it all. And it gets you a little afraid of that extra 0. I remember when the first year I was able to break records on my income, first year you coached me, was add the 0, push it a little bit.
Yep.
And it's scary as shit. To be honest with you, it's scary. It's scary. And it's also, at least for me, I get imposter syndrome. Like, who the hell am I that I could make that? Who the hell am I that I could make it to this level and do these things? And then once you start believing in yourself, you're like, yes, I can do this.
Why not? Why not me?
Yeah.
Why not me?
Why not? And it's amazing. And thank you for that. And
of course, it's huge. It's the game changer. What happens is, I just left a building that I own right across the street from your building here, and the equity inside that building is doing me no good. Right? The cash flow will, but if you can, the question is the cash flow making more money for me than the equity sitting inside? If I sold that tomorrow, and it's in the works right now, that if we sold this to someone, and let's say we netted, I'm just going to use 100K. You had 100K, and we could take that 100K and make more than the $2,000 a month. 2,000 100K is what, 20%?
Yep.
Oh, excuse me, 20.
20%.
Make it $20,000 a year. On 100K is 20%. What happens if I can take that 100K and go make 72% on something else? That's the question. That's the return of equity. With the equity, you know, where I come from, and again, I'm going back, sound like so old school sometimes, but my raising has made me who I am. I'm definitely don't want to go back there. It's a little too slow for me now, but that's where all my relatives are, and I appreciate my upbringing. But the thought there is that we pay our houses off, and we sit on our front porch and we rock, but we can't go anywhere because we have no money.
Yep.
All this equity is sitting in this beautiful house behind me. It's paid for, but I can't go anywhere because I don't have the cash flow to come in. So the equity inside of those homes, some of those homes, what could that be doing for somebody else, somewhere else, making cash flow to allow you to have anything that you want? So flipping equity into cash flow is just a math problem.
Yep.
And so we're brought up to think, hold on, just, you know, buy and hold. For how long? Some buildings maximize themselves in a year. Some buildings might take 4 or 5 years after you've got it rehabbed and stabilized. But once it's maximized, it's maximized. Now, but we got to deal with a return of equity. What can the equity in that building do for you that's bigger? Throw it in a rule of 72, and you can tell if I can take that 100K or $1 million and go make 36% somewhere else or 72% somewhere else. Now we're into this momentum and this compounding features that we're after.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing. And I want to break that down a little bit. Let's go with more numbers again. I think a lot of times, and I know I do this, I analyze an investment based on cash return a lot. If I don't make 12% plus on a rental property, I'm like, all right, that's our goal. But it's mind-blowing what you just said. So let's just say I am $20,000 I had to put into my own money on this property. And I make, $2,000 a year. We'll make it easy. I have a 10% cash on cash return. All right, not great, not horrible. But if that property has another $100,000 in equity, so that's now that's $100,000 and I make $2,000 a year. Now I'm making 2%. So it's not 10%, it's 2%
Exactly.
cash on equity. When you start analyzing things like that, it's mind-blowing. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm doing good, and then you analyze cash on equity, like, oh crap, I'm doing something wrong here. I got to sell this property, or I got to.
Or buy
now
out.
with the rates, it's like refinance may not make sense, but
that happened on the building across the street.
Yeah.
Where have partners in that, and one partner wants to take over the whole bottom floor for his law firm. Right? Great. Maybe he wants to buy out the rest of the partners, and you're thinking, well, gosh, Kelly, you just been in it a year. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a math problem.
yes.
Everything besides my family is a math problem. I can make a bunch of decisions in my life with this phone and a calculator. It's a math problem. And I'll answer that question from him if he comes back to us on that buyout based on a math problem.
Yeah.
Only. I don't have any emotion toward it. When I drive by it, yeah, I like it. But what happens is, again, psychologically, the way we're brought up, oh, I own that building, I own this building, I own a bunch of 4,000 units and da-da-da. Who really cares?
Yes.
Who really cares? When they lay your head down at night, is Joe and Sally really caring what Dan and Lisa have at night? No. It's what Dan and Lisa and Kelly and Sunshine, that's what they want to do with their life. And again, we're trying just to compound as fast as possible. The rich do that. The ultra wealthy that I've been studying does that. Why don't I do that? Again, why not me? Why not me? And it's just a mind shift. That's all it is.
Oh, I love that. The why not me. But so those listening, one of my recommendations would be is at least every year, when you're writing down your goals for the year, take that time. I mean, I know you usually go on vacation with friends and stuff to do your goal setting.
Going next week. Going Saturday.
I do the goal setting too. Once a year, we'll do something around New Year's time and get our goals for the next year all set. And take a look at your portfolio, your investments and all that stuff, and really analyze your ROE. and see, hey, this year, are you really making as much money as you can? Because like you said, we're all about accumulating. Well, that may not make the most sense. And making the most sense maybe to, like I'll give you, for instance, we had a property where we're bringing in $2,000 a month. We put another 70 into it. I'm taking it back. We were bringing in about $700 a month, $2,000 total, but paying off the note. We put 70 grand into it. We're now bringing in, I think it's 2,900 a month cash flow. So for 70 grand, we're bringing another, and it's like that numbers made sense. I didn't have to go buy one more or two more products. I looked at what I had, we reassessed it and said, let's make a move on this. Now I got to go to that next level. And I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't done it as much as you. It's like looking at that equity on these deals and figure out how do I just multiply the equity? Like what can I pull this out and do something with to earn that 18, 36, 72% interest? I wanted to ask, so obviously over the years, and you've kind of touched upon this, but you're investing on what it used to look like versus how it looks like now. Is that pretty much what it is? Like your investing used to look like way more active and now it's passive, or is that kind of how you sum
I
that
have,
up?
and you know me, I do write my goals down every morning. I have a sheet that I keep up on a weekly basis, and it literally is broken down into the divisions of my company. And one always said active, and one always said passive, and more of a broad stroke. So my quest was to get as much out of the active row and columns and into more of a passive row as much as possible. And passive to me does not mean go and sit on the beach or in a golf course all day long. That does not mean that to me. Passive to me means the day-to-day could be handled by some employees. I could put Rehab Wallet into a passive role, even though I'm constantly building relationships for Rehab Wallet. But if I were out every day, like we did at the very beginning, of which I always do when I start a business, is out originating, help processing, go to all the real estate events and always networking, all that kind of stuff, that would not be passive, that would be active. So what I wanted to do is backstroke out, hire good people, build a business instead of a hobby, right? Yep. And so I'm building a business. So I put my business now in the passive column, and I'm doing what I want to do. I want to network. I want to be on this podcast. I want to go to the RE real estate investment groups, as many as possible. But if I don't go, it's not going to crush the business as well. So, and I love building a team. So the active piece and the passive piece is very important to me. And then the passive piece of real estate now is taking money in these syndications, and I know your audience hears and knows about that, as a limited partner, more of a limited approach instead of owning my 313 units 100%. I'm making more money as a limited partner because the deals are better, the operator is even better than me, and at the same time, the money is compounding year after year. If I would have kept my 24-unit apartment complex in North Charleston, to this day, I had it for 14 years, and we were cash flowing $3,000 a month, let's say. Doesn't sound like a lot. It's a 24-unit. But some months just have a huge water problem. Or maybe 14 of the HVACs went out. So you have to analyze really what the equity inside that building was going to do versus my little cash flow. Do I drive by it sometimes and it has the nostalgic piece? Of course. So
let's hop in now. I know, I think February of last year, I was kind of doing the similar thing that you were doing. We would lend a little bit of money out here and there to people that needed, quick cash flow. We would do, hey, I need 30 grand for 4 months. And I'd be like, okay, I'll in second lien position, here you go. I'll lend you 30 grand, 4 months, 20% return, whatever the numbers were. I know you were doing something similar. And you had approached me and you said, hey, how about we figure out a way to kind of partner on this? So talk to me a little bit about Gap Capital and where your mindset was to say, hey, this looks like the right partnership. This looks like something we should do, and it's also going to help us achieve that compound.
Right. Well, let's start with the partnership first. Whether it's Gap Capital and whether it is Rehab Wallet or any other business that I've had or a partnership in life. I think you got to spend a lot of time with that person first. know their intricacies, know their core values, see how they adapt under pressure before you go into business with people. And again, any words of wisdom that I might have, that might be one of them. Mm-hmm. Is that I think early on we get caught up into that. First person that calls you and it seems like, oh, I'd love to partner with you, I could do this, but you don't spend time with that person understanding just the core values that they have, and sometimes they just don't, and you don't know it until times get hard.
Yeah.
And while I've had partners go south because of that, you huddle up all during the good time, but when things get hard, you're still supposed to be huddled up and carry each other and have their back, and not everybody feels that way. And also, I get it that everybody's out looking for their individual families, but at the same time, I think you got to spend the time with that person before. So I'm going to stay right there on the partnership. So when we were looking for, once again, like I've told you before, is that when the phone's ringing, social media's hitting, or emails are hitting, I know I have something. So second mortgages, obviously Rehab Wallet is all first mortgages. That's in our PPM to our investors, and that's all we'll ever do with Rehab Wallet. But there's some second mortgages that are still good mortgages. The LTVs are still low with some great borrowers. So you were checking the boxes of somebody that I knew that I could trust, would always have our back. We'd spend a lot of time together already, years getting to know you, years. Now it's time to set up a partnership. And so ask you if you were interested. You said you were, and then we just pour gasoline on it. And so we have our second lien positions. We have, I consider it a sister company to Rehab Wallet. And so the Rehab Wallet partners and yourself are partners at Gap Capital, and it fills the gap. It fills the gap for some people, maybe for 4 months, maybe it's 2 months. You know, we've done a loan recently, then it was 24 hours. It's very transactional, literally 24-hour closing. We can close fast. It's our own personal money. And then again, you got to think about, can that partner bring as much as you bring? And you know, the partnership is big. The widget that we're selling is irrelevant. Yep. You and I can go and sell that water bottle. If that's what you and I wanted to do, I know that for a fact. We can manufacture it, we can design it, and we can sell the crap out of that thing. So it's irrelevant what the business was. It just happens to be the phone was ringing, the need was in Charleston, and around, and so we're filling that gap.
And the cool part about it is, we're helping people, like you said, it's cash flow, it's that short-term lending, and it's usually between 30 and 40% annum, so it also the compounding wealth. So it hits both of those things. Absolutely. We're helping people who need that short-term cash, and we're able to use our money to compound that wealth and help get to that next level. And the rule of 72, turn that money every 2 years, double your money. So no, and I appreciate that. It's been a great partnership, and I think it's something that just continues to hit and just be more of a need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to ask you. Obviously, you've been investing for a while now. Tell me one of your greatest returns on investment.
A specific deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Before I talk about a deal, I don't know that have I had 100% gain? And I'll talk about a deal. I'll talk about a deal in Somerville. It was 1031. We were able to have some money. 1031 again. ROE came into into our mind. And I thought I got to sell this property off Clements Ferry Road. It was a commercial piece of property, and because it was maximizing itself in rent, so I'm like, but I got a ton of equity. Let's 1031. Again, we go build relationships every day. Call a commercial realtor that I know and trust. Todd Garrett, he's in that world, in the industrial flex space world. Todd, just let you know I got some 1031 money if something comes up. Okay, that was 10 days later. He calls, said I got something come up. Again, had I not called him, let him know, that would not have happened. I'm not going to just wait on a deal. I need, the clock's ticking on 1031. So had a deal, and we bought it for $400. It's a six different commercial properties or units. Let's call it like a strip mall, if you will, but it were flex space. And brought 1031 money in, and it was almost a triple in 1 year.
Wow.
And so we were able to then take that money and we decided not to 1031 it again. We decided to cash out then I took that money, put that in apartment syndication, and used my depreciation to offset some of those gains.
Love it.
Right?
Yep.
Because when you're 1031 in money, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. You got 180 days, you got to locate a property in 45 days and 180 days to close it. I'm not just going to go buy something to buy something. That happened to be a great return of investment, if you will. But let's get a little more practical. And I think the return of investment to me is my investment in myself, to be honest with you. I think that we have to continually work. That deal was that deal. It was a triple, okay. That's great. That's just the first one that came to me. There's been a few of them like that. But I think the better thing that I feel like every day is that if I work on myself, and again, I'm going to keep using that word confidence, is that the more confident I get, the more educated I get, it seems like the better deals are coming my way. Yep. And I don't know why that is, but I think you have to have a daily routine of working on yourself. So I don't care if it's, we talked about you working out before you came in here, and whether it's your body and then you feel good about yourself, then it's your confidence, and then you can start making some good decisions. And then you attract people. I'm attracting you. You're attracting me because you're confident. And I think I just see the whole momentum. Again, you talk about compounding, the relationship starts compounding as well.
Yeah. And I think, that's the whole reason why when I talk about compound mindset, we have the 6 areas. Because if you're not mentally health-wise, or your physical health is not there, or your relationships, or your spiritual journey, personal growth, it's what you talked a lot about. That's so important. And then making the world a better place. That's what we try to focus on. My opinion is, and what makes a person truly happy is you get all those areas. It's not balanced. Nope. Nothing's ever balanced. That's right. But you compound each of those areas a little bit over time. And now my focus is health because, I get a good team and I go to that stuff. I need to compound my health right now. That's why I'm focusing on working out. And I'm sorry if I smell a little bit today, but it's
respect though.
I want to ask you, so that's I love talking about the wins. Tell us your biggest learning lesson.
Again, I'm gonna be broad strokey here.
Perfect.
Is that the learning lesson to me was not having my spouse on the same page as me early on. We had to work hard on that. She is fear-based. I am not. So she just wants security. I don't care if I go back to the farm and the trailer. We had to figure out how to meet in the middle. It seemed like her foot was on the brake and mine was on the gas. And we've been married together now for 22 years. And so there's been a lot of growth during this time of trying to ensure, if I had to say, I wish we'd have done it earlier, that would have been one of my biggest mistakes, that I didn't work on hard enough early on or willing to meet her halfway. And so that would be one of my biggest mistakes, I think, is that we didn't get on the same page. We're a clique now, probably for the last 7 or 8 years. And I think one of the biggest decisions was that she get out of the business. It is very difficult to work with somebody that you care about, love, share a home with, and you're talking business. And I wear all my emotions on my sleeve. If I'm happy, you'll know it. If I'm sad, I know it. If I'm pissed, then you'll know it. And then you're calling her, and she's just calling to say, hey, and I've got that mode. I'm in that mode. And so then I bring it home, or and that's all we began to talk about. And while I don't know if we were financially ready for that, our marriage was ready for that. And so that, to me, I would have to say was one of my biggest mistakes, and not doing sooner enough. While financially it made sense because she's a perfectionist and she's great at what she does. It was so hard for her not to be in the business because it was like such an asset. But I think it's good that you separate your businesses, right? Keep them very separate. And I was pulling her in when really she just really didn't want to do that. I mean, she's a singer-songwriter. She's super creative. and I'm a very operational, structured. She doesn't have, doesn't have a ton of structure, doesn't care about that kind of stuff. And I'm very structured, didn't understand it. So we had a lot of like combativeness at the beginning. But yeah, that'd probably be one of my biggest mistakes. Business to me, like I've told you before, we talk about basketball. I'll miss 3 and still come back down and pull up another one. It does, for whatever reason, fear does not bother me. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I don't know if it's because when you're young and you know, who knows where it all comes from. But I don't have that fear. And so I wanted to make sure that that we're on the, Sunshine and I are now on the same page. And I wanted it to be that if I'm out there shooting and I'm out there scoring, that she's not holding me back. And I felt like at times she was. And then opposite is true for her, that I was putting her in a position that she didn't feel comfortable in. So now she's super supportive. If I say a contract or whatever, she knows her role, and happy to do what she wants to do when she wants to do it.
I love that. I love that the biggest learning lesson was not a business thing. It was more of how you work stronger as a partner. That's pretty deep right there. Yeah, Lisa made it very clear, I cannot work with you. If you want our marriage to work, she has to do her own thing, and I'm doing my own thing. Nothing wrong with that. I love how strong she was with that.
Absolutely.
Let's hop into the compound round right now. I know in the compound mindset, we talk about all those areas of our life. Is there any specific area or areas you're focusing in on your life when it comes to, like I said, the 6 areas? You got health, wealth, relationships, faith, personal growth, and making the world a better place. Anything that you're kind of shifted your attention to because you knew it was lacking?
I would say it's health right now. I take things very in like, I sprint and then I stop and I breathe and then I go after it again. I don't know, again, we'll go back to basketball versus running track or something, right? I take everything very in those kind of categories and boxes. And so right now, mine's on my health. I've told you, kind of by now, I'm in my mid-50s, lots of wear and tear on my body, being an athlete, farm, UPS, and so I just had a hip replacement about 8 months ago. That's very different for me. I've never had an injury in my whole career playing high-level basketball for all my years. Never had an injury, thank the Lord.
That's amazing.
And it's amazing. Wow. And so mentally, it'll work with you, right? And so I've had to really focus on that, focus on not gaining a bunch of weight because I can't do what I used to could do. And so it's coming along. The right one is right behind it. I'll be doing that one at the end of this year. And so again, this year is full of health. In my business, we're staying the course. The business, who knows with Rehab Wallet, what's going on in this world. I want to be super conservative this year. Being conservative is not normal. It's not easy for me.
Yeah.
I'm a risk taker. And I'm going to go like turn the spigot all the way on or all the way off. It's like, but right now at Rehab Wallet, because of the market and because I am the leader and I've already been through a recession and a depression or almost a depression, that I have to make sure that we're in a good spot with compliance and ensuring we have the right properties on the street with the right borrowers. And I don't want to be too aggressive right now, at least through mid-2024.
Yeah. No, I'm doing the same with my business, and it's not easy. And
it's not easy.
And I get pushback from some of my team sometimes. Rightfully so. I like the challenge, and it makes me think a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's asymmetry always stands out to me. You want high reward with low risk. So you just got to really continually assess that risk, especially with investors. You're going to be even more careful because it's someone else's money, not your money.
Absolutely.
What is your if Kelli Garrett is successful? What is that definition? What does that mean to you?
That I'm living my best life and my best potential. I think I've shared this before with you that it kind of goes along with my why too. Like I'm being the best version of Kelli Garrett. Let's stay in sports for a minute. I played basketball at the College of Charleston, a mid-major school. I've told you the story before. Mid-major school. I didn't play at a Big Ten, SEC, ACC school. I have no idea what I could have done there. But I scored a lot of points, more points than any woman's ever scored, almost any man's ever scored. One guy just beat me about 3 years ago. And it's been on the board now for 35 years.
35 years, and someone just beat her 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
It's any points any woman's ever scored there. And we only had our 3-point line, let me say, for only 2 years. So my point with that is that I'm really good at the Miss Mid-Major school. I know that I am. And I play in kind of a mid-major. I don't have the time to be a billionaire. I don't wake up every day and write my goals and I'm going to be a billionaire. Doesn't matter. Doesn't even hit me. Will I be a centimillionaire? Absolutely. Which means 100 million. Mm-hmm. And so I know I can do that. And I don't know where but that's my best version of Kelli. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy there. I'm happy where we're at. I'm happy at our progression and getting there. I'm happy in my relationship. And it's best version of ourselves right now. And health-wise, I got a little work to do as my body kind of heals and gets back on course. So, but business-wise, I know where I'm really good at, and I feel like I'm just getting there. It's not. I don't need to play wherever somebody else might play. I'm content where we're at and content where we're headed, and I want to be that best version of Kelli Garrett, not Dan. Mm-hmm. I want to be the best version of just me.
I absolutely love that, because I mean, we see this all the time, people trying to be someone else's life. Live your life. Where's your happiness? Where's your, and you said it kind of goes into your why. Tell me a little bit about, you could be quick and specific, however you want to say, but like, what is your why, or what are your whys? Yeah.
My why, and again, it's very broad, and I said that before, just said it, is that it is being the best version
just
of Kelli Garrett.
Version. Gotcha.
Yeah. Some people say freedom. Yes, we have the freedom. Mm-hmm. Some people will say money, and it's absolutely not money. It is 100% being able to not have to worry about money. Mm-hmm. I grew up where I have amazing family, but I can remember as a kid waking up and my parents fussed about money, could hear them. And so maybe that is one of my whys, or why I do what I do, to have enough money we don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry what's in my checking account.
Gotcha.
And so just on the business scale, just talking about money for a minute, is to have enough money where I don't have to worry about it. Mm-hmm. And on the other parts of it, it would just be, again, just being the best version of who I can be.
I love it. One last question, we'll sign off here today, is book, podcast, audibles, or just a lot of us follow social media. Is there someone that you like to follow there that gives you words of advice?
I go deep with Grant Cardone. If you like him or not like him, it doesn't matter. He fits me. He works hard. But he's a little showy, but he's a marketer, right? He's marketing who he is. But I know I went deep with him for a long, long, long time. So on social media, I'm not a big, person that looks at a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. Ed Milet works with me too on the spiritual side and the motivation side. Yeah. So I would say those two guys on social media. Books, you've read it, and I've told so many different people, but I've read it not a million times, probably 20 times, is What It Takes by Steve Schwarzman. Mm-hmm. If you want to level up, go grab that book and just mimic it. When I was building businesses and selling businesses, which I've done about 8 of those, it was a book called Built to Sell. Mm-hmm. Call me a cheater if you want. Call me a modeler if you want. But I just read or follow a certain person that I feel like I can model that fits my parameters, and I'm going to go model that person, right? Unfortunately, back in the day, there wasn't a lot of women to follow, right? I have VHS tapes of Larry Bird that were wore out because I've watched them so many times. I'd stop it and run outside and do that move and come back inside and watch it again and go back outside. So I mimicked Larry Bird. I play like Larry Bird. I pass like Larry Bird. I shoot like Larry Bird.
I love it being a Boston guy.
I know, right?
I love hearing this.
So it's but I didn't have a woman to follow.
Yeah.
Right. And so.
We had nice blonde hair, and
exactly. I had the same type of hair, same country boy, same country girl.
That's right, French look Indiana.
I related to him, and I think it's who you relate to, and that's who I model. So I'm not trying to model Grant Cardone. Do not get me wrong when I say that, but that's who I go deep with social media. Again, that's probably my favorite book so far. Tim Grover, Last one is called the Winning by Tim Grover, and he was MJ's personal trainer for like over 15 years. It'll remind you why you are the way you are. If you're expecting every day, or sometime to ever quit wanting more, it'll never happen. Because the winners never are satisfied. They'll die never being satisfied, but they'll die with no regret on the table as well. They'll try everything, but the last day that you're breathing, you'll be thinking about something else. Can we get into? It's just, and that's okay because that's the true definition of a winner. Per Tim Grover.
I love it. Yeah, I really appreciate it, Kelly. Thank you for your time today.
Of course.
It was very insightful.
This was
It
fun.
was a great talk. So appreciate you.
Of course.
Thank you.
You're welcome.